So a soul aligned business for me is helping figure out what is your purpose? What are your gifts? What is your original medicine? And then how can you package that and profit from it? So you're really having impact in the world, living your purpose. And through that, I mean, the money comes. Like I see it time and time and time again, not just with myself, but like the hundreds and thousands of people I've worked with. It just comes.
Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I'm your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Well, hey friends, and welcome back to the show. Today's Turquoise Talk guest, and yes, I sound a little raspy. I've been a little under the weather. So you kind of get this soulful, raspy voice from me today, but I'm excited for today's guest, Erica Carrico. She is an award-winning soul business success coach for women who are ready to transform their lives by discovering their life purpose and creating 6- and 7-figure soul-aligned businesses. We talk about what is a soul-aligned business. We also talk about what is a purpose-driven profit formula, and can you really grow your business without being on social media? Y'all know I took a 9-month sabbatical pretty much from social media. So I loved having this conversation with Erica. And through her coaching service and speaking, she helps soulful entrepreneurs build and scale their businesses to global empires, if that's your goal, quit their 9-to-5s, and make fabulous money on their spiritual path, so they can finally earn a living doing what they absolutely love and what they were put on the earth to do. And y'all know I'm all about aligning your business, aligning your strengths, and aligning your priorities to build a life and a business that you love and one that you're not constantly trying to escape from. So today's conversation, we could have talked for 2 hours. She's amazing. I can't wait for you to meet her. So without further ado, let's get to it. Well, welcome back to the show, friends. I'm so excited for today's Turquoise Talk guest. And if I sound a little off, my voice is a little raspy today. I've been a little under the weather, but I'm so excited to have you on the show, Erica. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, I'm super excited. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So tell me, I don't know anything about you, your family, and kind of how you got into the work that you're doing today. So can we just start there?
Yeah, I'm a single mom of 2 kiddos and started my own business back in 2018 on the back of, the typical corporate burnout story and really hitting a rock bottom moment in my life of being in a job that I felt was completely destroying my soul. My marriage was falling apart at the time. I had a baby and a toddler, and I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. And I realized that the way that I was living my life was literally killing me. And I had to make some changes. And, through that and across the many years now, a multimillion-dollar company is what I'm sitting with at the moment that impacts thousands of women around the world and has a team of 15. And yeah, it's been quite the wild ride, but here we are.
Yeah. And I'm sure there were some lessons that you learned. I mean, I think people, and you probably get this, people see the success that you're living today, but they don't understand or didn't get to see some of the bumps in the road or the inner work that you had to do to get to where you are today. So can you kind of share maybe some of that part of your journey? We see where you are now today and the success is amazing, but I know there's some women that are listening that they don't identify with success because they're in the valley, right?
My gosh.
Yeah, yes. They're in the struggle. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Totally. Well, I always say it doesn't even matter what level of business you're at. It's new level, new devil, right? Like
Yeah,
the challenges
true.
that I face now, yeah, like people might think, "Oh, she's cruising, she has a multi-million-dollar company." And there have been moments in the last 7 months where I'm like, I'm struggling to get out of bed because things are just so hard and the responsibilities feel so big, right? And we constantly have to adjust and change. And that's when I know something needs to shift in my business, right? And it's like, okay, what is that? So the challenges never go away as an entrepreneur. I think they just get a little bigger.
Yeah.
And the responsibilities just feel a little bit heavier, right? So,
Yeah.
and then I literally tell my students that are all starting businesses, like, building a business is the best personal development journey you will ever take in your entire life. And I
100%.
truly think, yeah, 1 year of building a business in the way that I teach building a business, like a soul aligned business, right? Where it's like you are really what you're marketing and putting out there. That 1 year of that is literally equivalent to 10 years of therapy. It just brings up all of your stuff.
It's so true. It is so true. I'm like, and we're a different breed, entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it definitely is one of the biggest personal development journeys I've ever been on. And I mean, I know we all, if you are an entrepreneur, you get that statement. And so tell us a little bit about, you mentioned soul aligned. I'd
Yeah.
love to know, like, what is that? Like, how do you define that? And how do you compare that to where you were when you were in corporate? Because I know there's some women who are listening and maybe they're in that, whether they own their own business and they're ready to make a pivot or they're ready
Yeah.
to transition. It's like the fear of the hard we know and the hard we don't know. And it's the hard
Right.
we don't know that keeps us in the hard that we know, right?
So true. I know, it's so true. Well, I think cancer gave me a whole different perspective. I always knew from a young age that I was here to make a difference in the world. Like I knew my life was going to be dedicated to service. I just didn't know in what way.
Yeah.
I was like the Peace Corps kid. I was the volunteer kid. I have a master's degree in nonprofit management. So I've always had that desire to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I left corporate, I started out as a life purpose coach. So, because of my cancer journey, taking a spiritual healing journey myself, I really started thinking about why did I come here as a soul and
Yeah.
who really am I and why did I come to this planet at this time, right? Like it was a real kind of awakening experience. And I really got deep into spirituality and really connected to, God, source, divine, inner self, whatever it is that you want to call it. And I realized that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience
Mm-hmm.
and not the other way around. And I truly don't feel like our souls came here to be miserable and to slave away in a 9 to 5 and to build companies, earn millions of dollars for companies that already have millions of dollars. Like that is not why my soul came here. And the women that I work with, that is not, none of us came here for that. We all have our own original medicine, our own divine gifts, our own work that we're here to do. And I think we came here at this time to put ourselves out there and heal the part of humanity that we're here to heal, right? Whatever that looks like, it's different for everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't buy into building a business for the sake of building a business. I don't buy into building a business for the sake of money. I don't even buy into building a business for the sake of freedom. All of those things come as amazing benefits. But I think the ultimate reason to start a business is because you have that medicine inside of you and it's time to get it out, right? Like it's time to do your part to create transformation in the world in some way, shape, or form. So a soul aligned business for me is helping figure out what is your purpose? What are your gifts? What is your original medicine? And then how can you package that and profit from it? So you're really having impact in the world, living your purpose. And through that, I mean, the money comes. Like I see
Yeah.
it time and time and time again, not just with myself, but like the hundreds and thousands of people I've worked with. It just comes.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen this with your students, but I see it with some of my clients. When we start talking about, because the work I do also helps to illuminate what their natural strengths are and how to utilize that to build a business that, right, is in alignment with who they are
Exactly.
and their priorities and where they want to go. And it's almost like they understand that piece of it, but then making money and being paid to do that, there's a block there. Do you see that with your
All the time.
kids?
That
Yeah,
is the
especially
biggest
for
thing.
women. Especially for
Yes.
women. It's like, well, I have these gifts and it's really great service, but it should be for free or for very low cost.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like
No.
what do you, yeah,
Just no.
just know, just know. But what do you feel like what is the block there for them? What are you seeing with your students that kind of, that's what holds them back? Like they know they have this purpose or they know they have these gifts, but when it comes to putting a marketing strategy around that or putting a business plan in place or taking those next steps to become more visible, sometimes there's just this block that comes up for them. So how do
Yeah.
you help your students work through that? Because it's a real thing. I've
It's a
experienced
real,
it. Yeah.
oh gosh, same. We all have. There hasn't been one person that I've worked with that has not experienced that. I mean, honestly, when you look at it, like look at how, I mean, 70 years ago, women couldn't get credit cards. Women couldn't be on a mortgage. Women couldn't have financial responsibility or freedom. And so when you look at that in the span of like human existence, that is so recent. And so I think a lot of that is carried across, generational. I think a lot of it is how, like, I personally, my money story was the man earns the money. And literally, after I got married, I was like giving my husband books on creating financial wealth. And I'd be like, why are you not doing this for us? Why are
Right.
you not creating money for us? Why are you earning a paycheck and you're not trying to earn more? Why are you not taking what you're earning and like figuring out investments? That was my mentality. It didn't occur to me that I could go out and create my own wealth. Right.
Right.
So I had to really flip the script. But I think we all have our own money story, and usually that's how we grew up. And then I think the other part of that is there's a lot of when we're doing something new, right? So like when a woman thinks about packaging her services and charging for it, she's never done that before. And so
Yeah.
there's the imposter syndrome, like who am I to do this? Or will people actually pay me? Or there's a million people already doing it that are going to do it better than me, so why should I even bother trying? And
Yeah.
that's normal because you're doing something that you've never done before. And so that's going to feel uncomfortable and weird, right? So there's a lot of mindset work that comes in getting to flip from consuming, like reading the books and listening to the podcasts and investing in the courses to actually creating your own stuff and putting it out there.
Yeah.
That's where like an entrepreneur either makes it or they don't, in all honesty.
Yeah. Yeah. Being willing to feel, right, all the emotions that come with putting yourself out there and being more visible. That's why you said like it's the biggest personal development journey because it does bring up all that stuff, all
Yeah.
those mindsets that maybe you've had about money or the imposter syndrome. All those things are very, very real. So for someone who's
Yeah,
listening, like if you're experiencing that, it's normal. It's part of the process.
completely.
It's just what you do with it. Are you going to let it hold you back or are you going to let it spring you forward by just
Yeah.
working through that? And that's hard to do alone, which is why I think it's so important to have mentors and coaches and listen to podcasts, and having someone that can just say, no, come on, let's go. Like you've got this
Yeah.
idea, you have what you need right now for your next step. And it's just
Yeah.
it's hard to do that on our own. So having support is so important. I'm sure you've had support along your journey. I wouldn't be where I'm at
You're
today if I didn't have support.
Oh, same. I was just talking about this yesterday to somebody. I don't remember who. It might have been a private client. And there was a 1 6-month period of time in the last, whatever, since 2017, maybe even 2016, that I didn't have support. And in that 6 months, I spiraled. I mean, I spiraled. My business went backwards. I was a train wreck all the time. The fear was so real and so big. I was anxious. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. Like it was really bad. And so I think it's just such a lonely journey if you are trying to run a business on your own and lead a team and all the things that if you don't have support, someone just to even normalize things, like, oh, that's happening in your business. Yeah, we've all done that. Or like, I don't know an entrepreneur that hasn't been through that. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm okay now. I'll just go drink my water. This happens to everybody.
Right.
So it's even just the validation. Like, of course, taking their guidance and what they've created and the systems that have worked for them and making them your own and putting them in your business, why would you not do that, first of all? But second of all, yeah, just the validation of like the experiences you're having, that's totally normal. Let's just get on with it because that's what we have to do.
Yeah. And I don't know if you hear this from some of your students, but just taking that first step and asking for that help and asking
Yeah.
for that support. Like a lot of times I'll hear, well, I'm a grown woman. I should just know how to figure this out on my own.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
going to learn how to swim on your own? Are you going to like jump in the deep end, not knowing how to swim and figure it out?
That's what it feels like, by the way. If you're trying to do it, that's probably what it feels like. And no wonder you're
Right. Why would you even,
yeah, that was so much love, but it's the truth,
know.
right?
It's true.
It's so true.
Well, and it's a skill set. Building a business is a skill set. Like it's like anything else. You're not going to know how to be a dentist or a doctor without training. You're not going to know how to even do your craft, right? Like how to coach or how to heal or how to whatever, be a therapist without training. Like you're not going to know how to build a business without training. It's the same thing. It's just a skill set that has to be learned.
Yeah. It's like the analogy of, you have an Olympic gold athlete. They all have coaches. They didn't
All
get
of them.
there. Yeah. I mean, all of the national championship football teams, they all have coaches.
Right.
And yet we as women expect ourselves to have that gold medal and to have that national championship as a mom and as an entrepreneur and all the things on our own. Like when you put it that way, it sounds ridiculous.
Completely.
But in your mind, that's what's going on. It's like, I should just be this
Right.
strong woman who can handle all of these things. And like you said, that's just not how we were created and designed.
No.
We're designed to link arms and to support one another. And yeah, I can't imagine. It's just part of my investment now. I mean, it's not even
Same.
a thing I think about. It's just,
No.
if I'm going to be doing something, I'm going to have the support that I need. But I do remember how scary it was the first time I invested, because I
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of money, but I also knew
Right.
I've taken it as far as I can go on my own. If I want to go to
Right.
the next level, I got to get some support in here. And so
Right.
it's scary. Eric and I both get that it's scary, but it's so worth it to take that leap.
Yeah. And it's like, if you want to create a different reality than what you're currently living in, you have to think a new way and you have to take different actions. And I think without that person kind of reflecting back, what is that to us? We're
Yeah.
just going to sit in our own current reality and create the same scenario over and over and over again until we have someone come in and break that pattern for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it just gives you hope that it can be done when you see
Yeah.
people doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, she's just like me.
Yeah.
And she's having success, so I can have success. It's like when you don't believe in yourself, when you're around a community of people who are doing it and living it, it does. It just puts you in a much more positive place to move forward. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk about like growing your business soul aligned without social media, if that doesn't feel
Yeah.
alignment for you. So my listeners know I took about 9 months off from social media this last year. And they also knew I had my biggest year in my business, which was mind blowing to me because what everyone would tell you is that you can't have a business off social media pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I know what my experiences was and how I was able to do that. But I would love to hear from you. Like, what are some things that you are seeing with growth? If someone's like, I'm not the person who wants to be on social media 3 times a day, or on there all the time. That's not aligned for me. What would you tell them? Like, what are some things you're seeing right now with growth outside of social media? Hey, friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
Working with Martine has been such a blessing to not only my business, but to my personal life as well. I went from lacking confidence to being able to stand tall and proud of my work and life.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martine@martinewilliams.com with 3 times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show.
Well, one, they're actually very intuitively smart because the thing with social media is it's what I call internal marketing. So it's really designed to provide value and content for your already existing followers, right? Like we all know the algorithms are changing. They changed in September. They changed again in November. It's harder to get, it's harder now to get in front of anybody than it ever has been before.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had influencers come to me and their accounts have been shut down and they lost their business, or they have 500,000 followers and they're earning $2,000 in their business. Like it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And, I think we have this perception of like, I'm just going to post all the time and I'm going to get clients. Well, only 1% of your existing followers will ever actually buy from you. And so once you've already gotten a couple of clients, depending on the size of your following, you're already tapped out. And so people then continue to post. Oh, it's not working. I need to change what I'm doing. And maybe I need to post something different and maybe I need to change my offerings. And it's like, no, you're selling to the same people who aren't going to buy. So what I do is I flip the script and I coined it external marketing. It just made sense to me because it's like you're focused on external factors, right? Like you're focused on getting in front of new potential leads and new potential clients and new potential audiences every single month that you're making offers to. So you're never tapping out. And that's really the only way to build a sustainable, consistent business is to have consistent leads, right?
Yep.
Be as
Yep.
consistent in your external marketing as you want your income to be. And so yeah, not only does it feel better for most of our clients, it actually works also.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And people come to us and they're like ready to quit their business and they're, thinking that maybe this isn't going to work for me or this isn't part of my purpose. And it makes me emotional because it's like, no, that's not the truth. You're just doing it in the wrong, like you're focusing in a place that you're not. Nobody can build a business that way. Like, and we hear people that have invested in social media programs, 10, 20, $30,000 or social media companies or whatever, and they get nothing from it.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I flat out my clients, if they want to have a presence on social media, great. Do it because you love it and because you have fun with it. If you don't, just get off it. Let's build otherwise. Let's build elsewhere and we'll come back to social media later if and when you want to.
Yeah. And what would you say are like the top 3 things you're seeing outside of social media? If someone's like, yeah, I'm done. Like I'm burnt out. I'm done. I want to look for some new opportunities to kind of get in front of new people. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah. Well, I always tell people to stay away from things like advertising, paid advertising and funnels until you are already earning, 10 to 15,000 a month and you have that organic, safe, consistent, predictable cash flow to reinvest back into those strategies. I think that's another thing people really make mistake on is they try and run ads too early and they lose a lot of money. And you have to have a team to get those strategies going, right? So steer clear of those until you're already earning 6 figures. And then those are great strategies to scale. I use those in my business, now at this level, but they're great scale strategies.
Yeah.
So until you're earning 6 figures though, the things that I help my clients focus on are like we have them hold what I call a signature workshop. And that just gets you right in front of your ideal clients and converts really well. Some of our clients like to do speaking engagements. We have clients that speak at like festivals and get on stages, and not everybody likes that. A lot of our clients also get on a lot of podcasts and get visible that way. They get published in the media, and that really works too. And what also the cool thing about this kind of a strategy is that yes, it gets you visible and it gets you in front of your ideal clients in a different way, but it's also giving you a credibility boost in comparison to those of your competitors that are just posting endlessly on social media, right? They're like, you've been seen here and you've been featured here and you've been on this stage or whatever. You have a whole as seen in section of credibility that somebody who is endlessly posting on social media will never have. And so if a client Google searches, you're going to pop up, they're not.
Yeah.
And so it gives you a leg up. It gives you the visibility, the leads, but it also gives you that credibility and that authority in your space that clients are looking for right now in this industry where people have been burned and they're looking for credibility.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was the most shocking thing for me when I decided to get off social. And I really was just going to do it for 30 days. I'm like, I've never done it before. Let me just try it, see what happens. I don't really know that I felt burned out. I just want to try something different. I knew I needed to free up my brain space. And so like the things that I was able to create with not thinking about posting on social media. And it wasn't that I was the person that was on there 3 times a day. I was probably on there every day. I was on my stories for sure, but just not thinking about it. I mean, I was creating, oh my gosh, I was creating, like you said, webinars, workshops, speaking opportunities, and people are my strength, like building relationships with people, connecting with people. Like that is one of my number one strengths. That's how I've built both of my businesses, is connecting with people. And so I'm like, okay, do I want to take a chance of getting in front of people on social media, or do I want to create my own experiences where I can invite people where I know they're in front of me?
Right.
And that was a game changer. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, was it really? I'm like, I don't know what it was. It was just that not thinking about making a post and finding the reel, finding the music or whatever it was, having that space to create again.
Yeah.
A place of like, I'm going to be in real contact with people. Like they're going to get in my circle of influence where I get to actually talk to them eyeball to eyeball, whether it was in person or virtually holding these monthly workshops. It blew me away. And I just think we buy into the lie of the popularity of social media versus are you creating real experiences for people to be in front of you and get to know you,
Completely.
right?
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, well, what's going to happen if I'm not on social media? I'm like, well, what could happen is your business could blow up, which is what happened for me.
Oh, I
So,
love that so
so
much.
there you
Yeah.
go, and now I have someone else to kind of talk about it. And I think more and more people are realizing that. But I love everything you just shared because I do think, especially for a new entrepreneur, the money that they could just waste away into
Yeah.
strategies and ads. And it feels easy. It's like, oh, I just create this ad and this funnel. But
But it's not.
no, it's not.
Wow, it is not. And things go wrong and you need a whole you need a tech team and an ads team I mean, it just goes on. And then you need $1,000 a day budget for ad spend. Well, who has that unless you're already earning? I mean, you don't. So that's I have a whole other issue with that. People teaching that strategy too soon and
Yeah.
having new people jump in is like, you're going to bankrupt them.
Yep. Yep. And there's like you said, a time for everything.
Yeah.
Just, getting to that mark where you have the money to scale. You're
Yeah.
still in the building phase. When you're in the building,
Yeah.
it's like you're probably just putting money back into your business to build.
Right.
And we don't have the bandwidth to do all of those things that so many people tell us to do. So it's so refreshing, Erica, to have someone like you on the show to talk about this. One of the things that I was reading about was your purpose-driven profit formula.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that means or how
Yeah.
your clients?
Yep. So that to me is your business should always be a combination of three things. And so this is one, what you are naturally good at, right? Like you were talking about earlier. What are your gifts? What are your natural skill sets? What are your divine gifts?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second component is what do you absolutely love? And I think most people that I work with have forgotten that. Like we get so far away from some people sit there and they're like, I have no idea. I don't even know what I love. And
Yep.
it's like, how sad is
Yep.
it that we as a society get so far away from that, that we don't even know what we love doing anymore?
Yeah. It's so common.
Oh,
It is so common. I mean, like deer in headlights. When I'll ask
dear
them,
in headlights.
what is fun for you? And they're like,
What?
fun? What is fun? I'm really just trying to survive the day. I'm like, okay,
Totally. I
we
know.
need more play in your
Yeah.
business too. Like play in your life, but play in your business too. Like you said, what is fun for you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what is fun for you? What do you really love? What do you enjoy? And then how can you combine those two to create value in the world?
Mm-hmm.
So that is really, I think, the purpose and profit formula is what you're naturally good at and what skill set can you build upon, and then combined with what you really love to do, and
Mm-hmm.
how can you combine those two things to then create value and impact?
Yeah. That's so awesome. It really kind of solidifies and helps people to think about it. So, do you know what your strengths are? Really? Do you know, like, what are the things, like, again, like I know mine is people. I know connecting with people is something that has helped me to build my businesses. And then what's fun for you? And maybe for some of you listening, like you need to spend some time on that because you haven't thought about that. It's like the grind, the hustle is
Yeah.
what we've been sold for so many years is that, building a business has to be hard and hustly. And it does require hard work.
Yeah.
We're not saying this is like flip flops and laptops by the beach all day long. I mean, there's a part of that, but I'm not anti hard work. I'm anti hustle
Yeah.
for sure. So really just, as you hear us talking about this, like y'all just spend some time thinking through those two things. And if you don't know what those two things are, maybe this is the time for you to invest and to find someone who can come alongside you and help you with that. So you mentioned earlier about burnout and when you were in your corporate career. And I do talk about burnout a lot in the podcast because I think so many are living in a constant state of burnout. They don't even know that it's
Yeah,
burnout.
100%.
I think
Yeah.
they just think this is the way entrepreneurship is. It's the way mompreneur life is supposed to be. So I always like to ask my guests, when you were in your burnout, like, what did it feel like for you? And then what did you do to kind of like work your way out of it?
Yeah. Burnout when I was in corporate, or the times I burned out in my business?
Anytime. Yeah.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about the times I burn out. I mean, corporate burnout, I think, is way easier to recognize because you don't love your job. You like hate your job. You don't love what you're doing. It just feels like such a slog. Corporate burnout feels a little different. I think entrepreneur burnout feels confusing because you're like, I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
but I'm exhausted and I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed. And maybe this isn't even working for me anymore. Or maybe I've been on like such a growth path that I've gotten so far away from why I even started this business, right? Or you have done so much that you have. So, I mean, I at one point had 35 private coaching clients and a wait list of 6 months. And I was like crying in between clients. This was back in
Yeah.
2018. And it was like, but I was obsessed with my clients and I was obsessed with the work that I did. So I didn't recognize it as burnout.
Yeah.
And my coach, finally, I hired a coach at the time and she was like, you are in like massive burnout. Like it was the dread almost of the day again. It was like, I loved what I was doing, but I still felt dread around my day. I still
Yeah.
felt so exhausted, overwhelmed. There was a never ending to-do list. And I think for me, the nice thing about when you're in your own business is it's just a call that something needs to shift, right?
Mhm.
Do you need to adjust your offerings so they're more scalable? Who do you need to hire to take off the load that you're currently bearing? So there's ways to shift and change. Whereas I think when you're in corporate and you hit burnout, you just have to like burn the whole thing down. It's different in
Yeah.
a business. You just adjust and change. But yeah, I think the anxiety comes back, some of the depression, the dread. That's, I think, what it looks like in business burnout, which
Yeah.
is real. It happens to everybody.
Yeah. 100%. So nothing's wrong with you if it happens. It's
No.
just how can we catch it sooner and sooner before
Yeah.
it really kind of takes you down? And then what is your system for getting out of it when you start feeling it? So is there something that you do or things you do like on a daily basis to take care of yourself to where it helps prevent it happening?
Yeah, well, I always do. And again, I'm actually at a point in my business where I'm having to scale and shift things again. And
Mhm.
I notice whenever I start losing, like I always take Fridays off to ski in the winter
Yeah.
and I backpack or I hike in or mountain bike in the summer. And I always know it's coming when I start. My calendar is like too full that I start scheduling things on Fridays. And usually I'll be like, well, I'll schedule stuff this Friday and then, whatever, next Friday. And then before I know it, 3 months down the road, I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't had a Friday to ski or mountain bike in so long and I am feeling it. And so then it's like, that's my indicator that something's got to change and that it's coming.
Yeah.
And, how do I get out of it? Honestly, I've never been able to get out of it alone. I've always had to hire that next mentor to help me readjust and recalibrate my business into its next evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. For me, it shows up in like lack of inspiration, like lack of creativity. And my first bout was really that lack of identity. Like I was looking in the mirror and I'm like, who is this chick
Yep.
that I'm looking at? Like I couldn't think of anything that I wanted to do for fun. I was the person we just described. It was like deer in headlights, fun hobbies. Like, what does that look like? I've been so others focused, building a business and growing my babies, my children at the same time and being the wife and all the things. And so again, like I think we all experience some level of it. And that's why I always like to ask my guests, because so many women are like, oh, this isn't the way I'm supposed to feel. It's kind of like when you've been eating really crappy food for so long, you don't realize how crappy you feel until you stop eating the crappy food.
Yeah.
You take a pause and you're like, oh no, life is actually supposed to be fun and enjoyable. What? Like I've been
Yeah.
this whole time,
Well, and I think as women, we have such a high tolerance for like
Yeah, we do.
pain
Yeah.
that we're like, I'll just put my head down and get through it. And I mean, that was my mentality for a really long time too. And there was a coach that I worked with and she was like, well, that you're available for feeling like that. And how about you become unavailable for feeling like that? And I was like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
available for tolerating. What if I just become unavailable to tolerating things in my life? And then that was when things started shifting. We don't have to tolerate.
Yeah. 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 Someone needed to hear that, like that permission slip, to check what you're tolerating right now. And you get to decide what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate. So,
Yeah.
well, tell us more about where they can connect with you. What's the most exciting thing you're working on right now that maybe they might want to plug into? And yeah, I would just love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, my website has everything. So ericacarrico.com. You can find my offerings, free trainings, all that good stuff. And then I think and obviously I am on social media. I don't spend a ton of time there, but there is a lot of free trainings on Instagram and YouTube and things like that too, that people can dive into. But most excited about my book that is coming out. And yeah, should be actually, I just got the email this morning saying, congratulations, we're ready to publish your book and it's coming. So really excited about that.
Exciting.
Yeah.
How long was that process for you? it's on my list to do. So I'm always asking when someone's just written like, well, how
Yeah.
long did it take you to do it? Because
What?
it's very big and daunting.
Yeah, it's been a 2-year process just
Okay.
getting the book ready and written and going. But it's actually based on my very first program, Awaken Your Purpose. So, if you include the time that it took me to create Awaken Your Purpose and coach all of those clients, I mean, hundreds of people through that process. And yeah, I mean, essentially it's been 7 years in the making
Yeah.
when you look at it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah,
Let me know when
thanks.
it's ready. I'll definitely add it back to the show links here and
Yeah.
grab my copy as well. So,
Yay. That would be great.
well, as we wrap up, if you could leave the listeners with just one final thought, what would you want to leave all the mompreneurs of the world that are listening today?
All the mompreneurs of the world, I would say that your voice matters and your story counts, and you are here for a reason. And if you have that desire in your heart that is planted there also for a reason, and it's so important to listen to that divine guidance and take those baby steps and follow the breadcrumbs and just trust your intuition and your gut, regardless of what other people are saying.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was awesome. And we'll put the links to everything in the show notes so they can connect with you.
Great. Thank you for having me. So great.
That was so awesome. All right, friends, I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.